Here is a bite-sized recap of The Land Before Time 11. Invasion of the Tinysauruses. Littlefoot and his friends are staring at a tree that only blooms once in a great while. They're not allowed to eat from the tree. When Petrie decides that he's gonna go up there and eat from it anyway like an idiot, he does it in the most obvious way possible so he can get caught. Because picking candy flowers off the top of a tree secretly equates to diving from many miles above. I'm exaggerating, I know. Spreading your wings and closing your eyes. That was the worst part of the movie for me. Except for the ending. Mr. Tops catches him doing this. Sarah says the first treat belongs to her because she found the tree. And even though Littlefoot technically found it first, he wasn't big enough to reach the top. Littlefoot is so aware of how small he is, or the fact he hasn't grown much, even though the others haven't grown much either. Sarah makes fun of him for this, and as Mr. Tops is on guard duty of the tree, he hears a familiar voice. And then he just melts into oblivion. Jesus Christ. In this whole movie, Sarah's gonna have to deal with the fact that her dad has a new girlfriend. Littlefoot, like an idiot trying to prove himself, decides that he's gonna try and break the very rule he told his friends not to break. He ends up falling through the tree. All the tree sweets land on the floor. When he wakes up, he sees a whole bunch of mini longnecks eating off the tree sweets, and they ate every single one. Topsy screams when he sees the tree. Tria said she saw Littlefoot walking away from the tree, but he lies and said it was the Tinysauruses. He said he was by the tree, but he happened to see them eating it. This is where Sarah sees the dad's new girlfriend. She is horrified. The whole Great Valley is on the hunt for the Tinysauruses. After Sarah runs off on Littlefoot getting mad at him for asking about her new mom, he falls into a hole that happens to be the home of the Tinysauruses. Littlefoot gets to know them, and they're not so bad. Also, because of his very straw-like fickle ego, they make him feel large because they say how gigantic he is, which is stupid because it doesn't negate the fact that you haven't grown much. Their father doesn't trust outsiders, much less the large dinosaurs. They claim they never care about the little guy. I guess what that's a parallel to. Doesn't really apply here though, because if nobody can freaking see you, why are you mad at them for that? Oh well. Tria goes to Sarah and tries to make friends with her, saying that she's known her dad for a while and always liked him and he always liked her, and she wants to get to know Sarah too. Sarah tells her don't hold your breath in that Sarah Topsian way. This part was really crazy. Ducky gets on the wrong side of Sarah and accidentally refers to her dad as Topsy, which is the pet name that his new piece has given him.
Topsy says,
She screams at Ducky saying, "Don't you ever call my dad that again." Almost literally killing Ducky. I would be totally scared Sarah do this to me too. Ducky is... Sarah wishes everything will go back to the way it was. Her dad tells her it wouldn't. His horns, at least in this shot, are colored correctly. The Tinysauruses, because the whole Great Valley is hunting for them based on what Littlefoot said, thinking they're now pests that are trying to eat up all their food, depend on Littlefoot to bring them food in the middle of the night, which is why he's so tired in the morning. The friends follow him, seeing him in the middle of the night, carrying the food to the hole and drop in. They too become friends with the Tinysauruses. Sarah becomes friends with one of the girl Tinysauruses, who explains to her that her dad is very overbearing. They sing a song about dads, and after the Tinyosaurus girl was like, I wish he had somebody else with him to help worry about me, so he wasn't so gung-ho over it, Sarah has a new perspective about Tria. The next morning when Tria sees her, Tria stands up for herself and says, look, I ain't going nowhere. Me and your dad are slapping scales, bro. Ain't nothing gonna happen that's gonna come between us. I've liked him for a long time. Your mom's out of the picture now. Ain't my fault. I'm here again, so... After Tria walks away, Sarah's like, maybe we can try. While Topsy meets up with Tria in the middle of the night for some sookie, they see the tiny longnecks. Tria thinks they're cute, but Mr. Tops thinks they're pests. After all, that's what Littlefoot told them. He chases after them in the most scary scene I've ever seen. He finds their hole. After gathering the whole Great Valley, they agree to plug up the hole, and Littlefoot tries to stop them. He finally admits to everyone that it's his fault. He blamed everything on the Tinysauruses. He's the one that knocked all the tree sweets from the tree and blamed it on them. The Tinysauruses inside the hole hear this, and they feel betrayed. The father, especially, who never trusted him in the first place, feels righteous indignation because he told everyone that they're not to be trusted. Littlefoot had said he got scared because everyone was mad, and I can't help but feel like this is a parallel for poor people or minorities, and then the gigantic dinosaurs of the rich and elite, because they're living under the feet, literally, of the big guys, and they're the little guy, or the working class, and then one of them blames it on one of them, and then they treat them like trash. Just feel like there's a parallel there. When everyone was calling for blood, Tria had jumped in front of Mario, and told everyone just leave them alone. Topsy quickly, because he's in love with her but not that much, told her that if she didn't know what she was talking about, she shouldn't talk at all. To which she was very surprised. I don't know why she's surprised about this. He's a leader, and you undermined him directly in front of everyone, and you sounded like an idiot. Nobody's like, oh, well, they're cute, and they're this. No, that's not how you win an argument. Now they're fighting, and Sarah takes it upon herself to try and make things better between them. Littlefoot's friends are very mad at him, and they have every right to be. This little long neck asshole is like, why are you guys mad at me? I understand why the grown-ups are mad at me and the little Tinysauruses, but why are you guys mad at me? Really? When they do tell him, he gets an attitude with them. Like, well, I thought you didn't know how to tell me how you feel.
Me no hear nobody.
Littlefoot's like, fine, go away. Why are you mad? I feel like taking his neck off of his shoulders and slapping him and beating him to death with it. He is so annoying in this movie. Oh my god. Did they purposely do him? Whatever, let's move on. Sarah tells Tria that her dad is only mad because he feels like he's protecting her honor, that the Tinysauruses stole the tree sweets from you and he really wanted you to have some. Tria never saw it that way. The Tinysauruses feel as though they're chased out the Great Valley, so they go to the mysterious beyond. They're chased by these Deinonychus looking things, and the father Tinosaurus leads them to the Great Valley. His kids are not very happy about this, but he doesn't care. After the Sharpteeth get to the Great Valley and hunt down the kids, Tria protects Sarah, and Littlefoot and the rest of his friends are running for their lives. But the Tinosauruses feel bad, and they come back to save their friends. The other dinosaurs in the Great Valley also come to save them, including Sarah's dad. They send the Sharpteeth back to the mysterious beyond, and then plug it up with a rock, which makes no sense because just like the great dinosaurs can waltz into the Great Valley whenever they want, so can these creatures, but whatever. Sarah is happy to have a new stepmom prospect, and Tria and Mario once again are in good standings. Finally, everyone sees the Tinysauruses. Still don't think it's the fault of the big dinosaurs, because the Tinysauruses hid themselves. Nobody knew you existed. They forgive Littlefoot. Don't know why this freaking longneck looks like a wrestler. And when the next nibbling day happens, the Tinysauruses are also invited. Another thing I said in the other video, do they give out these tree sweets in proportion to the sizes of the dinosaurs? Because if you're a huge dinosaur like Gourmet or Meagor, Littlefoot's grandparents, that's barely anything. It's like a grain of sand in your mouth. But anyway, everyone lives happily ever after, and here is one of the worst shots in Land Before Time history. That's some nasty shit right there. Anyway, stay tuned for the full review of Land Before Time 11. This doodle that I made is called the Kinderzool serpent. This creature's name hails from the words Kinder, which means children in German, and Azul, which is the Spanish word for blue. This creature is very childlike in its demeanor, but it is far from it. This snake-like entity can grow up to 16 feet in length in its adulthood. It lures its prey in with a pleasing aroma that it emits from secretions on its body, and it's otherwise seemingly docile. The smell is very inviting, and depending on the prey, it can smell like food or something familiar. Once the prey breathes in too much of the aroma, as though they are being controlled, they immediately start heading for it. Upon having the prey right where it wants, the Kinderzool serpent will wrap itself around the prey and slide its tail into an opening of the prey and then release the prey. After depositing something inside of the prey, for the next 2 weeks, the prey will feel intense euphoria. They will be super productive and even seem to have super strength and speed, as well as binocular vision and certain things that they normally would not have depending on their species. Unfortunately, after the 2 weeks, the deposit that the serpent left inside them will be ready to erupt. The Kinderzool does not lay eggs or give birth, but rather reproduces by fragmentation, which is basically when a creature breeds asexually, doesn't need someone to mate, it literally like releases a piece of its arm and that pops off and then forms a whole new creature. When the Kinderzool had stuck its tail inside the prey, it detached the tip of its tail, which immediately began growing into a whole new Kinderzool. With this method of reproduction, these creatures don't ever need to mate. What they do need though is to have the tip of their tail to be inserted or deposited into a host. Inserted and deposited. The haunting part about all this is that during the 2-week period the host is experiencing euphoria and happiness, they're actually being devoured alive, but they're not aware of it because of the euphoric spell the secretions from the new serpent inside of them is giving off. It takes 2 weeks for this thing to grow into a whole new creature. At the end of those 2 weeks, the host looks very different than how they looked before. If it's a human being, people might start to notice that, you're looking a bit odd. And at the end of the 2 weeks, the prey basically looks like an animated corpse until they finally drop dead. In the last moments of their life, there's a misfiring, and the host is horrified in abject terror at how their body feels or the fact that they can't feel it just moments before they pass on. Anyways, thanks so much for watching. This has been Ultiori. You ask, we answer.